That's better. Hi.
Okay. Yep, it was just connecting. We are live.
Oh. I wasn't ready.
Now you are.
Yep.
Hello. We're live, just so everybody knows.
Finally. Hello. Hello, Elise. How's it going? I can say that when we're live, right?
Good.
You look happy. Clock
I
ticking.
just ran up the hill really fast and I can't breathe now.
Elise, when's the countdown date?
The 19th we get induced. So unless it happens earlier, it's 10 days or almost 9 days now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exciting.
It's cool.
Do you know what the sex is, the gender
Yeah.
yet?
Yeah, we're being a girl.
Oh, we love girls.
And you're going to call her Johnny, right?
Johnny.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You probably are getting pressure for that anyway from the other end.
I have a list of names. We haven't picked one out yet.
Well, like everybody says, you'll have the name picked out and then the baby pops out and you take one look at her and you come up with something totally different and you'll agree.
I've heard that happens.
I had a friend growing up whose name was Brienne, and her name came because the hospital wouldn't let her parents leave without a name. And actually, and her last name is Cleodakis, right? So she's Greek, they're Greek. It's Brienne Cleodakis, and it was Chateau de Brienne. It was some French, they were drinking some bottle of wine, and they said, all right, let's just call her Brienne, because they wanted to leave.
Nice.
So it's good to have a few backups there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You never know.
Hi, Elise. How are you feeling?
Good. I was just saying we have, well, I guess 9 days, but maybe today doesn't count anymore since it's almost over.
Well, you look great. We all wish you the best, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Mhm. So, the new standard was set at that last meeting, 6 minutes. So think about what you want to say. Keith can have a couple minutes, but say it and let's go.
That was a fast meeting. Let's see.
I'll start it right before the recording, at least.
I know it's
We're
4
gonna
o'clock,
start
but
at 4, and I'll
looks like we're waiting for a couple town council members, so. Well, I guess we'll get started and hopefully we get our other town council members here.
Oh, I see 2. So yeah, you're gonna have to wait for at least one
No.
more.
Quorum.
I don't think it's called in.
Are you running the show today, Elise?
Just for a little bit, Roger is, I don't know if you heard that there's a kind of like a bus, electric bus coming up from the U/Capitol. to Alta today, and he is giving a speech, I believe,
Oh, that's great.
right now. So he'll be joining
yeah.
us a little late, but I see we've got John, so we'll get started. So
Hi, John.
this is my first time doing a mayor pro tem
Really?
job.
What happened to Roger?
He'll be joining us a little late.
Oh,
So
sorry,
I'm
I'm
gonna
late.
You're okay. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. This meeting will be an electronic meeting without an anchor location pursuant to Mayor Burke's January 21st, 2022 determination. And the first thing we have on the agenda is citizen input.
And we have one person, Elise. Piper, we didn't get any written comments submitted, correct? Okay. Del Draper wanted to make a comment. So Del, I've enabled you to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I wanted to comment on parking, even though we're at a point where things have simmered down and we got a system in place. It seems like Alta had a real tough time coming up with a parking system last fall. Some ways, it looks to me like they really defaulted to Alta ski lifts, and we may have a system that's a little overly controlled and driven by ski lifts. And ski lifts in the town are very different entities. One's a for-profit business driven by revenue obligations to act in the interest of its shareholders, and one is a government that needs to act in the interest of its citizens. And I sure hope you council members will keep this in mind as it comes time at the end of the season to renew or renegotiate the MOU with Alta ski lifts. Please keep listening to citizen input on parking, and let's make sure we come up with a system that really works for the citizens. When we were talking about parking last fall, I kept coming up with the analogy of parking in a residential neighborhood around a university. There, it's not uncommon for residents to be issued a parking permit that allows them to park on the street. And if you don't have one of those permits, you can't park overnight or on that street. And such a system usually has fairly minimal cost to the residents, enough to cover the cost of administering the system. Last time I saw parking projections for the town, I think it was last November, the town was expecting to get about $80,000 in parking revenue, which they were going to pay half to interstate and end up with about $40,000 in revenue. And I have no idea whether those projections are still accurate or totally gone this time. But I just question whether the town should be viewing parking as a revenue-making endeavor. Last fall, a cabin owner said to me, let me see if I get this. If I buy a ski pass for $1,000, I can park all season for free. But if I spend $1 million or more on a cabin and I'm a taxpayer, I have to pay $250 to park overnight and maybe an extra $25 per night if my family owns more than one car. Now that's pretty flippant, and it may not be totally apples to apples, but I think there's a grain of truth in that comment. So please continue to review parking, recognize the difference between the profit-driven Alta ski lifts and the need of the town to serve its citizens. Please keep listening to citizen input on parking and take that into account as you renegotiate the MOU or renew the MOU at the end of the season and come up with a parking plan that works best for your citizens. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Del. And that's it, Elise.
Okay.
If anybody else wants to, they can raise
Council,
their hand, but
it's Mike Morey. Please excuse the interruption. I know that we were expected to be called on for parking. We've got an incident that I need to step away for. I'll rejoin this call.
Sounds good. I believe
you.
we're going to talk a little bit more about parking with the MOU a little later with the Alta Lodge. But for right now, we've got a town water system update with Keith.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Morgan. Let's see, I'd like to share my screen with you guys if that's okay.
you should be able to
Jen?
do that. Yep.
Okay,
I think you know where the controls are, right?
yep.
Okay.
Can you guys all see that It's a Excel spreadsheet.
Yes.
Great. I've got, I don't know, a dozen things on my list here, and I'll just kind of run through them quickly with you so I don't take up a lot of your time. The long and the short of it is, first of all, the water system is operating as designed. We've been able to stay in compliance with the Division of Drinking Water as far as water quality. But we are to the point where we need to order a new media for one of our filters in the treatment plant. Let's see. And you guys may or may not be aware of the treatment plant up in the Bay City mine, but this is a granular titanium oxide system that removes antimony from the raw water from the Bay City mine. We do that with 2 filters, which you're looking at here. Left-hand side of the screen is filter A, the right-hand is filter B. And the reason I show you that is so as we go through and look at a couple of graphs. We've been operating this plant now since September of 09. And this chart I have in front of us, the blue lines up here, this is the raw water antimony concentrations. This light blue line is the maximum contaminant limit set by the EPA. And then these are compliance points in 2 places, after the blend or at the end of the treatment cycle in pink, and then in yellow at the gold miner's daughter, which has been identified by the Division of Drinking Water as our compliance point. And as you can see, we've had a couple of bumps over the years that are just barely over the limit, but we also, we have not ever come out of compliance because these are running annual averages of the maximum contaminant limit. This kind of is just the last year, this chart is looking at the last year. And the filters, we run them in lead and lag. Because of the size, we don't have one big filter. We have 2 small filters, each with 72 cubic feet of media in them. And again, our goal is to stay below the line. We are starting right now to approach the limit with our finished water. We're in January, as you can see, we're at 2.4 parts per billion of antimony coming off of filter A. And so we play this game. This is just showing right now filter B, which is the current lead filter. We are already up to 9 parts per billion of antimony, which is above the limit, but it's still taking us down below the raw level, which is 11. So filter B is still working, but now it's putting more effort onto filter A. So what we need to do is switch the filters again. And these lines are the filter A and B's levels, antimony levels. And one of the things that happens is when you run your lead filter up to, up till it's saturated or it's at the limit of what our raw water is, then the second filter has to do more work. You can see the media changes, and maybe you're wondering why it took so long. We used to pH adjust the water using sulfuric acid, and that makes the filter media last a lot longer, but it's a safety risk for us using sulfuric acid and then having to readjust the pH. So the long and the short of it is, we've gotten, we anticipate filter A will be up here around 4 parts per billion. When we switch the media, we plan to do that but April or May, just depending upon how fast this goes up. We will be changing the media in filter B. So this one will then, and it will become the lag filter. So then filter A will be doing all the work, and filter B will then be doing the polishing. I hope that makes sense to you. So here's the thing. The new media, 72 cubic feet of granular titanium oxide delivered to Alta is about $37,000. And that's for 72 cubic feet. We need to also sample that, which is about $600, sample the waste media and dispose of the waste media, which is another $1,000 to $2,000. So we're looking at basically $40,000 to do that. That price increased $8,000 from the last media change that we did in 2020. And it is interesting because the price of the titanium oxide does change. Our 2018 filter change, we paid $33,000 for the 72 cubic feet. The long and the short of that is we need to plan on another filter change in 2024 in order for us to keep moving forward. And so we may need to increase the amount in the budget that we're putting in for operations of the filter plant. Piper's done a good job of keeping us on track with the budget to this point, and we just need to be thinking about that when we go to budget for 2023 and 2024. So that's,
If I can interrupt, Keith, I think that we're saving about 10,000 a year because we used to be able to go, the projection was longer in between changes, right?
and that is correct, Piper. And part of the reason behind that is running the lead filter to exhaustion. And so that's why we need to be thinking about that when we get to the budget portion, because the bottom line is we need to stay in compliance with the division. Let's see. Any questions on the filters? Just jump in and holler at me. If not,
when do you think we need to purchase that? I mean, are we talking like July? Are we talking a couple months?
No, we need to put the new media in April or May. So we need to purchase it now.
Okay.
We budgeted for that. But with lead times being what they are, and also there's a process with sampling the spent media and the time for that to get the waste load approved for disposal. Previously, we have not had it be a hazardous waste, so it goes to a landfill, but you don't know. Down here in the Wasatch Drain Tunnel, we actually had one that exceeded the leachability test, and it was quite expensive to dispose of. Hopefully, based on past experience, we haven't had to do that in Alta, but it's going to take a little time. Let's see.
Keith, can I ask about the difference in price for disposal between something being considered hazardous waste versus something that can be leachable and go into a landfill or a waste area?
Yes. The price is probably for a load of media, if it were to be hazardous, and this I can only base it on what I've had to do in the Wasatch Drain Tunnel. When it did exceed, it was about 4 times the cost. So it could be $8,000 to dispose of it. But we've also learned some things about how to manage our waste so that we don't exceed that. And we learned that down here and can pass it on for up there. Oops. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, and maybe you guys are aware of this or not, but last fall, last winter, we discovered frozen fire hydrants in the town of Alta. And one of them was behind the gold miner's daughter, which you can see a picture here of, and the other one was over by the Buckhorn. So we came in, and because of the difficulty and the tremendous expense of lowering the lines, we came in and have insulated that. Now, if you look at that shovel that's in that trench, that shovel to the bottom of the red portion of the handle is 5 feet. And, you know, the minimum requirement here in the canyon is 7 feet. And oftentimes we have to have water lines 8 feet deep to prevent freezing. And so this is a primary fire line. So we came in, we worked with Newman Construction, and rather than lowering the line, we insulated the line with a membrane and 4 inches of blue board. And if you're not sure what blue board is, you can see it in the lower right-hand corner of the picture. It's 2-inch high-density styrofoam, and it's got an R value of about 10, and it prevents the frost from getting down into the pumps and into the pipe. I'm happy to say that so far, cross your fingers, we haven't had any issues with those lines freezing this year. Steve and Casey have been out flushing them regularly just to make sure, because, you know, fire protection is critical. The next thing I want to talk about is water system improvements. And
Back with you, folks.
hello, Mayor. And I can catch up with you later on what we've covered to this point. But I just wanted to let the council know that on the 5th of January, I had the opportunity to meet with the mayor and staff and Councilman Byrne about water improvements and what we want to do moving forward with the town water system. As you are probably aware, in both 2011 and in 2014, we came up with capital improvement plans for the water system. And since that time, we have done some improvements primarily in the Powder Ridge area, upsizing the lines and looping the line back in over by the Alta ski lifts area to improve the fire flows in the Powder Ridge area. Since that time, we had this plan for these other things that we had wanted to do with the system. And they've kind of gone to the wayside, and obviously things are super expensive, but we've identified some other priorities. And from our meeting, we kind of started a list. And first and foremost, in my opinion, in priorities is the town of Alta needs more storage. And we were aware of this back from the hydraulic modeling done in 2014. We're just a little bit under what we should have. One of the things is the Division of Drinking Water has now brought in minimum sizing standards for water systems, and it shows a similar deficiency in storage. The problem with that is we've got many moving parts within the town system, up in the Grizzly area, et cetera. So we're not really in a position yet to address the sizing. So what we kind of came up with at this meeting was that we should start looking at some of the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. And one of those things is in Peruvian Estates West, which is this area here. We have got some pretty significantly undersized water lines. Specifically, this line that is orange is a 2-inch line that supplies this area, and it doesn't meet really what it should as far as capacity. This fire hydrant is, isn't anything that's really effective for us. This started out with the fact that this light green line is 6-inch. The blue lines are 8-inch, and 8 inches is basically the minimum these days. This is okay having this 6-inch here because we're also looped with 8-inch here, although we do have a short piece of 6-inch. If you are interested, we can talk through these plans, but we wanted to address this thing going back to when we had the fire at the Hellgate Lodge and fire flows. And so John and I have received a proposal from Aqua Engineering to come in and do the preliminary engineering. So this is where I would like to go, and it's obviously up to you guys with moving forward with replacing this line. And rather than, originally we had talked about looping this line back in to the line that's down here. That green line is the sewer, the sanitary sewer line. So don't get confused by that, the dark green line. Anyway, we've come up with another potential solution that we're working on to increase fire flows. But the short-term low-hanging fruit is let's get this piece of line replaced in 2022. So to do so, we need to have engineered drawings done, and that's what we have a proposal for. And John and I are going to work through that and work with the rest of the staff and the council to get approvals for this year to do this, upsize this to 8-inch, put a new fire hydrant. And we have a pressure reducing station here in the parking lot that is from 1970. It doesn't function very well. We have problems with it. So we would in turn upgrade that pressure reducing station. I can't give you a price on that yet because we need to work. We need to, as you're probably aware, the price of everything is, going up tremendously fast. As I get back to this, so this is kind of then looking at your whole town water system. And we've got some other things that we've identified that we want to do here in the future. And I'll keep you posted on that. We will also this summer, as soon as Dominion can get in here, we're going to bring a new gas line up to the Grizzly pumping station so we don't have to use a propane generator for backup water pressure for the Grizzly area. And we need to work out changing out this 2-inch line as well. We'll also put the gas into the Bay City Mine building where the treatment plant is, so we're not paying the huge electric bills to keep that treatment plant heated. Another thing, I spoke about it, we'll have our sanitary survey this August with the state, and that kind of gives us where they come and audit everything we do, and hopefully we are in compliance. I just did the updated emergency response plan that was required by the EPA. And then we are also going to need to, in 2022, update our drinking water source protection plan. So there is, in a nutshell, where I sit with this. I'd love to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you for this, Keith. I'm curious about that 2-inch line. It doesn't look like it follows the current sort of right of way that runs down to those properties. And I've heard that it's buried very close to the surface. And that, so I wonder if you can speak to that.
I certainly can. So
Thank you.
this is from our GIS model. Okay, so this is not super, it's not an actual drawing. That line does run in the road down there. And so again, so this is superimposed on an aerial. And as we get to the design drawings, you will see it will go down the road. It will follow that road down past the McIntosh cabin. And it will be dug deeper. You know, it has to, because there is the fear of this line freezing because it is very shallow. So those are being addressed in this initial engineering design that, again, we have to get Division of Drinking Water approval for that. And that's why we have to go down this road.
And so is there a possibility that the cost of paving that right of way is being considered as well? And the consequences of potentially then not having the snow cover being an insulating force and the depth that the line would need to be run at that point?
Well, that's, I'm not the road guy. So that's not really for me to speak to. The one thing I will speak to is that we will have that line will be put in at a depth that it won't freeze and have to rely on insulation, snow insulation to keep it from freezing, or, you know, or worse, having to run a bleeder or something on it. So that is something that for the town, that the town or the homeowners, whomever, can address with respect to that. So, and I could maybe throw that into John's court.
Yeah, I'm not the road guy either, but this is a private area. And the Mark Levin, who just bought Travis's place, talked about paving the road and then plowing it all winter. And then, you know, we were discussing, well, who would be responsible then, because the line's not deep enough for either lowering or insulating the line. But this would solve that problem. But if the road's going to get paved, it would be a private deal. But as Keith said, thank you. If they pave it and plow it, we won't freeze. So that part's great.
Thank you.
Do you guys, any other questions? Obviously, give me a call, send me an email if there's something else you'd like to talk about with respect to this. I'm very encouraged by the new council and mayor, you know, and I look forward to the service area having another long-term relationship with the town. So on that, I'm essentially done.
Can I just ask one quick question? Do you anticipate doing that work? Will the water district do that work, or will we be letting a contract to an outside excavation company?
No, that we will have an outside excavation company do that work, Councilman Byrne. We'll have, one of the things that's why I'm working through with John is we don't need to have detailed plans and specifications. We need to have something that the Division of Drinking Water will approve. And then we will handpick from our known skilled contractors and have them come up, and we'll get bids, and then we will supervise the installation, and we will do the inspections for the lateral connections and pressure testing, etc. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else for Keith? Okay, thank you, Keith, and pardon me for coming in late. I'll explain that later. Mike Bond and I just split up a few minutes ago. He went west, I went east. I don't know if he's back in a position to give his update.
He joined the meeting a few minutes ago, Roger, so.
He did, okay. Mike? There you are.
Hi.
Hi, again.
Yeah. Second time today, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot today, just a little update. You know, we're continuing to look for snow. But on the flip side of that, I would have to say that we are very pleased with how well our mountain's holding up, the snow quality. We're hearing all the time that Alpha's got the best product in the state right now, and it's been reflected the last, I tell you, 2 weeks that the majority of the people that are skiing around at Alta have come from the Summit County area. They're driving around and coming over here and skiing. Seen a high number of those people show up. But the good news is that maybe looks like we'll have a change in the pattern next week. From that standpoint, we're working with the Forest Service on trying to get our approvals for projects for this summer, including the replacement of the Sunnyside lift. Still working through that process, but other than that, I don't have much else, just unless you as the town has some questions for us.
Thank you. Have
Anything
you
for
come
Mike?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sheridan.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mike. I just am curious about whether or not anything else has come forward with your arrangement with the Icon.
We're working on something with that. We're not really ready to announce. There is a change of some sort, and we'll be able to disclose that probably next month.
Thank you. And if I may ask a quick follow-up, how are numbers looking?
We're actually ahead of last year at this point in time. What we've seen with the parking reservation system is, it's changed a lot of things fairly dramatically for us. But we're seeing maybe a little higher turnover of people coming at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and other people leaving. We're seeing that it is pushed more people to the midweek period of time. So more people are coming outside of the reservation periods. But from what I can tell in the industry as a whole, I was hoping this was just an Alta phenomena, but from what I can tell, the industry as a whole, there's a lot of pent-up demand to come skiing. And I think most of the ski areas in the state of Utah are up compared to last year. That's starting to change a little bit with this extension of this dry period. I think we're getting a little more interest here at Alta, but that will change as it snows.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mike?
Thank you for all you do. So it's
Okay, Carolyn. Is Carolyn not here?
Yes, Roger. Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. I didn't see your face and there's no identifier. You're a green telephone.
I am very sorry about that, sir. I am currently, unfortunately, could not trade out of my shift as a volunteer at Snowbird on the ski patrol today. So
Wow.
I am multitasking, sir. And so I apologize. And I tried to log in anyway. This is the best I could do. So
Okay.
you asked me to speak for a few moments about COVID. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, that's what as I look around, I hear the news reports about the cases coming down. I see some entities relieving some of the mask requirements. As far as I'm concerned, you are the most qualified person in this group to speak to what's appropriate to keep us safe. So please so speak.
Well, thank you. I would like to say that, first of all, the ski resort, Alto Lifts, and the town have done a phenomenal job. I appreciate the fact that the town required vaccination. I appreciate the fact that the lift company requires masking. I think it's great that we're all enjoying skiing and enjoying being outside. We live in a state which continues to rank very high in our number of COVID cases. We're 5th in the nation for the number of cases per capita. I believe yesterday we had the most deaths reported in the state of Utah since the pandemic started. It's still not great to get COVID. You can get long hauler syndrome. But I think overall, I think the lift company did a great job following the recommendations put forth through the state, and I hope that they continue to do so. Not sure if you want me to speak on anything else, Mayor.
Well, I think it would benefit from your wisdom. I mean, how are you personally taking care of you and your family keeping safe?
We have all been boosted. I wear a mask inside wherever I go, whether it's the grocery store. I don't wear a mask when I ski because I think it's outside and I've been boosted. But my partners, even those who are fully boosted, continue to get COVID. But nobody has gotten very sick, at least in over a year in my group of ER docs where we're front facing. So things have gotten better, but we are by no means out of the woods. And as far as an ultimate prediction as to what's going to happen, I think that there's still quite a bit of controversy out there as to what's going to happen. But I think that this surge is definitely coming down. And like I said, I think the ski lift company has done a great job and the town has also done a great job. And my meetings are all virtual for the most part, but I do travel somewhat for work. So I'm not personally super isolating in that regard.
Okay. Well, from my standpoint, I'd like to continue these meetings virtually as we are doing for two reasons. One is it keeps us safe, and the two is it works. And those are pretty good reasons, in my opinion.
I agree with you at this point, Mayor. I think that we should, as a community, continue to meet virtually, at least for now. I think that we have some vulnerable adults in our mix. We have a woman who's about to become a mom, which is fantastic, and we have a mature mayor. And so I think that we owe it to one another not to meet in person until things change for us.
Elise, I think she was talking about you. Okay, mature. I'll keep that in mind. Any other questions of Carolyn? I mean, we've got some, we are very fortunate to have her kind of expertise here at our disposal. And this is a good opportunity to have any questions about how to stay safe in this era.
And I think Ken and I have made ourselves pretty widely available to the community. And I am happy to take any questions or comments offline or in any way that I can help anybody. Please feel free to reach out.
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Can you speak to hospital capacity right now?
Actually, things have actually finally gotten a little bit better. I mean, we had people, I was transferring people to all over the place. People were waiting in the emergency department for hours and hours, and we finally have beds available. Unfortunately, we're still limited on certain types of beds. I think that our psychiatry beds are still overwhelmed. We have people waiting in emergency departments, sometimes 2 days for a psych bed. But most of our inpatient beds have gotten a little bit better. We've had some staffing issues. I think everything you've read about travelers and that kind of thing is true. Some of our, we've had to staff from other agencies for different reasons, but things have finally gotten better. So.
Carolyn, do you think this is shifting from a respiratory crisis to a psychology crisis?
Oh, I'm more mentioning that, I think for our teenage population, it's pretty bad. And we've actually changed quite a few things in the Intermountain healthcare system recently to help accommodate our teenagers. But I think that, it's been awful for all of us, right? And at least because we're all, we've been around for at least 40 years. Only 2 of our 40 years have been affected. But if you're 15 and you've had 2 of your 15 years living in COVID, it's been awful. I think for those of us who are more mature, we can look forward to the future and realize that this is just a small part of our lives. But for teenagers, it's had such a major impact on their entire life.
Good point. Okay, well, let's move on to the consent agenda. I'd like to see if anybody has any questions on the consent agenda. If not, we'll approve it. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay. We've adopted the consent agenda. I did have, I did have a couple comments on it as opposed to approval. One of the things in the consent agenda that was brought in by Jay was a gas leak at the Snow Pine. And I don't think Jay is with us today, but that really caught my eye. What I was most impressed with was 4 minutes after dispatch, the emergency crew was on scene, and they disposed of the problem in the course of 2 hours. You want to say anything more about that, Jay?
I'm happy to answer any questions related to it. And I know Mike may have been there or had some of his marshals there, but it's one of those calls that we respond to very conservatively and with several units in order to be able to handle any situation that may come up related to a gas leak. But the circumstances were handled quickly. The occupants of the building were able to get back in fairly quickly, And luckily it was fairly decent weather outside that didn't complicate things significantly.
Yeah, I am, I continue to be impressed by our public safety crew in this area. Okay, any questions on regarding department reports? Okay, that takes us to the mayor's report. The first thing I was really taken aback when Mike called me last month and said that there was a missing skier and they were out after dark looking for him. And that skier eventually became that skier was found fatally injured the next day. But what I was, and our sympathy goes to the friends and family of that group. I went down and met with them briefly. This is my first experience with that sort of thing. Mike assures me it will not be the last, unfortunately. But the response of our Marshal's Department and the ski lifts and Wasatch Backcountry Rescue and UPD and UFA was just, to me, outstanding. I mean, this really makes me feel like we've got the first team here. And thank you, Mike et al. Excuse me, the Central Wasatch Commission met a few days ago, but more to me relevant than that is that our former Congressman Ben McAdams has been charged with conducting a complete review of the Central Wasatch Commission. It's been in place for about 7 years, and its original goals, which were rather ambitious, in fact, very ambitious, really haven't come to total fruition yet. I talked to him twice this week, and I'm glad that this is a guy who is charged with seeing where this activity should go. I have great respect for Ben McAdams. Let's see. I think most of us know, I don't know about all those we're watching remotely, that Piper is retiring. And we're on a mission to find a suitable replacement for the clerk's position. It's one of our current priorities. We have some basically announcements of the opening out. If you know anybody who you think would be highly qualified for that, let us know. The reason I came late to this meeting is because I met an electric bus that came up the canyon. This was a promotion. It was something that was promoted by students at the U called Students for the Wasatch. And they arranged for this bus to come. And it's an impressive vehicle. It's driven by electricity, of course. That's what I call electric bus. And it made it came up the canyon at least 40 miles an hour. I asked the driver. He said, "Well, we got up to 45 or 48 a couple times." Of course, didn't mention that the speed limit is 40. But it's a technology that can be recharged with renewable energy, and its emissions are at least at the vehicle zero. And if the electricity is charged renewably, the emissions there would be zero. I was joined on the bus by Mike Mon and Dave Fields and the mayor of Sandy and a councilwoman from Cottonwood Heights and about 24 young people. And the thing that most inspired me about it was the young people, because they are invested in trying to keep our world from going to hell. Mike Morey was kind of around the edges of this. You want to say anything more about this event, Mike?
No, I think it was intriguing to see the vehicle. At first glance, it seemed like it was a pretty large vehicle. Had some questions about how it would maneuver in the parking areas and the pickup places, but actually one of the other coaches pulled up during the same time, and really when you look at them side to side, maybe it wasn't that much larger. We'd have a long list of questions about the ability to make them all-wheel drive and fit them with drop chains and all that, but I'm sure that information is going to be coming.
You mentioned that there was another bus. In fact, we parked right behind the other bus. The other bus was idling so loud that we couldn't hear ourselves when we got up to the front. So we had to go around to the back of this bus, which is, of course, is silent, which is kind of neat. Another item, excuse me, on my list is that Laura Briefer alerted me to a bill that's been introduced that would require Salt Lake City to provide water to all lots. And this would result in a massive development in the Albion Basin. Something that would massively change the character of the town. I don't know what the prospects of that bill are. That it was introduced by Representative Phil Lyman, who's a legislator from the southeastern Utah, but that's something we're going to keep an eye on. Let's see, this pretty well takes me to parking. Literally we have about 1,800 parking spaces in all of Alta. And there are about 18, that is 1%, which kind of fall into a special category, and they are parking spaces that are basically owned by the Alta Lodge. And we have a resolution to discuss today to authorize me to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Alta Lodge to allow or to facilitate our marshal's office to conduct the kind of public safety enforcement that they have traditionally done in that area for a long time. So, Mike, do you want to say anything more about that particular MOU?
Well, this is really similar to what we did last month with the MOU with the Alta Ski Lift Company. Where quasi-public lands, would be eligible for our assistance in enforcing overnight and municipal parking code violations. The Alta Lodge situation is just on a much, much smaller scale. Historically, we have policed the area that we'll be talking about today. I don't see any drain in us resuming that activity at all. In fact, I think that we're the right entity to do that so that it's done fairly and consistently. I'm completely satisfied that the intent behind this is to make this area open to use of the public with, of course, the time of day restrictions, so plowing and those kind of things can happen.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to make a motion that this body authorize me to sign this MOU with the Alta Lodge.
So moved.
Okay. Any seconds?
Seconded. Yes, second, Carolyn.
Great. Any discussion?
I read the agreement. It seems innocuous enough to me, and actually there's more important stuff in the original license agreement from 2003. And I think the 2003 license agreement greatly benefits the town and the ability to manage interlodge conditions. So I hope we approve this.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of authorizing me to sign this MOU, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, motion passes.
Mayor,
Next thing on the, yes,
sorry to interrupt. Your comments from Laura McKindo I've found quite disturbing, and I'm wondering if you can educate us further at some point, perhaps not during this meeting, about what those comments were.
What, say that again, Carolyn, what did you want?
I found that I'm super disturbed by the concept of the Albion Basin being able to be developed. And so I'm hoping that you will provide us with further education as to what she said, what Laura
Okay.
said. At some point, not now, but perhaps we can take that up in a future meeting, sir.
Well, I find it very disturbing too. The basic bill, which I was told privately doesn't have much chance of passing, but that doesn't mean we should ignore it, is it would require Salt Lake City to provide water to all lots, including all the dry lots that are in the Albion Basin, which would result in a massive development there. And it would just make a huge change in the character of the town. Laura is very much against it. I will get more information on what was contained. It's called HB 0343, HB 0343, House Bill 0343. And I think we'll disseminate the contents, and we've alerted our lobbyist, whose name is Shelley, to keep an eye on this. And Laura Briefer has come down very strongly against it. But this is something to be aware of or more.
And the Utah League of Cities and Towns, they're also always on the Hill during the session, and they're a very good watchdog for us and all municipalities, and they've come out in opposition to this bill as well. So
I couldn't figure out at whose expense the water would be provided. You sent me a link to the bill the other day, and I spent a few minutes trying to read it and decided this was outside my lane. But it's unclear whose expense it would be at. And gosh, if it's at our water system's expense, that would be just devastating for us.
Yeah.
Aside from the development aspect of it, there's also the pay for it aspect that I need to deal with.
There is some protective language in the bill that might actually be in the town's favor. There's a lot of talk about subdivisions, and a lot of the areas now in basins are not officially subdivisions. John, correct me if I'm wrong. And the bill goes on to say a lot about where existing water infrastructure already exists, allowing a neighbor within a subdivision to connect also, that infrastructure isn't there in the first place. So there's a lot of things that the way the bill is written, we might easily be able to defend against.
Anybody else want to say anything about it? Polly, did you?
No, actually, I just wanted to speak. The MOU went very quickly, and I just wanted to make sure that the version that was passed by the council was considered was the latest version that was circulated, that had some changes, some input from the Alta Lodge. And there are also a few little typos that I just wanted authorization that we can change those for the final version.
Anybody object to correcting the typos?
And just a head nod that everybody, that what was being voted on was the version that was sent around most recently.
Yeah, I think Piper took steps to make sure that was the case. Right? Yeah, good. Okay. Any new business items? No more new business. Okay. Well, let's see. It's 1 minute after 5. So the lifts are closed, so we can't get another run in today. But it's close. All right.
I have a quick observation or takeaway, and maybe we'd have a moment.
Go.
We could think about maybe each of us having a takeaway if we wanted to. You know, it's been interesting this first 40 days. Honestly, over the last year or two, you know, there's this perception has arisen, at least in my mind, that there was something of a crisis, and there was a crisis there, and there still is a crisis with the pandemic. But really, the whole tone of the discussion has changed greatly since you took office, Roger. And I think you should be congratulated on that. And I feel really good about where the town is and where we're going. And you know, the financial issues seem to be working themselves out, and the parking issue, at least for now, has been effectively handled, and most of the people are pretty happy about it. So I just thought it would be a good thing to note that things have gone well for us these first 40 days. I hope it continues for the rest of the year, the rest of our terms.
Yeah, let's hope so. I hesitate to take credit for that, John. I just happened to arrive at the right time, I guess. I mean, things like this happen. So, but I share your thought that things are running almost alarmingly smoothly. That is, what's going to crash here? We don't see coming.
Well, I guess Polly and I won't say anything about the land use stuff just quite yet then to ruin your. but yeah, you're right. And it's a totally different tenor. It's nice. But we can't also say that until after the legislature is finished, and then we can really start.
Yeah.
I would beg the council never to use the word smooth or quiet.
Got it.
Every time we do it, something bad happens.
Yeah. Joe Blisvick. Okay, any other final words from anybody?
Just hear to everything both Johns said. Hear.
Both Johns, which are on either side of you, my screen.
And you as well, Roger. Your humility is wonderful to witness, and thank you for your leadership and for the cooperation that exists throughout the entire council.
I second that as well, Sheridan. Well said. And Roger, thank you for making this a peaceful transition and welcoming all of us to speak. You're doing a great job, sir.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good note to close on. Would anybody like to move for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks for coming. See you
Thank you
next
very
week.
much.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
That's very nice.
Be well, Elise.
Take care, everyone.
Good luck.
Oh, good luck, Elise.
Yeah, keep us in touch.
Yes.
She's gone. Good night.